There are people who smile all day, but inside, their mind never rests. They carry pressure quietly, thinking about responsibilities, thinking about the future, trying to solve problems that never seem to end. And after a while, stress becomes so normal that they forget what peace even feels like. Maybe you know that feeling. You sit down to relax, but your thoughts keep running. You replay old conversations in your head. You think about things people said days ago. At night, your body feels tired, but your mind stays awake. That kind of exhaustion is different, not physical, mental, and life keeps adding more weight to it. Pressure inside the home, arguments that should have stayed small but didn't. Feeling misunderstood by people close to you. Trying to stay strong while quietly feeling overwhelmed. Then one small moment happens. Someone talks to you harshly. Someone judges you unfairly. Someone brings their frustration into your day. And suddenly, your peace is gone, because your mind was already carrying too much. This is how chaos slowly takes hold of people, not through one major disaster, through constant emotional pressure. Most people never learn how to protect themselves from it. They react immediately. They take every word personally. They carry anger and stress long after the moment has passed. Then they wonder why they always feel drained. Machiavelli understood something important. If a person cannot control their emotions, life will control them instead. And that doesn't mean becoming cold or emotionless. It means learning how to stay steady when life becomes difficult. Because real strength is not losing control every time something goes wrong. Real strength is staying calm when pressure shows up. The truth is, problems will always exist. Unexpected situations, disappointment, stress, people who bring negativity wherever they go. You cannot avoid all of it, but you can stop allowing every problem to enter your mind and stay there. And once you learn that skill, life feels different. You stop reacting to everything. You think more clearly. You protect your energy better. In this video, we're going to break down 5 practical strategies inspired by Machiavellian thinking that can help you stay calm, protect your peace, and remain mentally strong during difficult moments. Because peace does not happen by accident, you protect it. Before we begin, drop this affirmation in the comments. My peace stays with me. Most people think peace disappears during big problems, but honestly, that's not usually what breaks someone mentally. It's the small things that happen over and over again. A tense atmosphere inside the home. Constant worrying about responsibilities, feeling like you always have to hold yourself together for everyone else. Never fully relaxing because another problem is probably waiting tomorrow. That slowly changes a person. You become impatient more easily. Your mind stays alert all the time. Even quiet moments stop feeling peaceful because your thoughts keep searching for the next issue. And one of the biggest reasons this happens is because people stay emotionally connected to everything around them. Someone speaks with attitude in the morning, and the feeling follows them the entire day. A disagreement happens, and they replay it in their head for hours. One bad moment ruins everything after it. Think about how much energy people waste doing that. The situation ends, but mentally they keep living inside it. That is how peace gets stolen. Not only by life itself, but by the mind refusing to let things go. Sometimes people are physically sitting in silence while mentally arguing with someone who is not even there anymore. And the dangerous part is that this becomes a habit. Some people become so used to stress that calmness feels strange to them. Their mind keeps looking for problems even during peaceful moments. Have you ever noticed that? A good day happens, but part of your brain still expects something bad to appear. That constant tension wears people down slowly. You can even see it in their face sometimes. The frustration, the emotional exhaustion, the heaviness they carry without saying anything. This is why emotional discipline matters so much. Because life becomes harder when every situation enters your mind deeply. A strong person is not someone who never feels emotions. A strong person knows which emotions deserve attention and which ones deserve silence. That's an important difference. Most situations in life do not deserve your mental energy for the entire day. Not every disagreement needs a reaction. Not every harsh comment deserves a response. Not every stressful moment deserves space inside your head all night. But many people give every little problem full control over their emotions. And after years of doing that, they lose their sense of inner peace completely. Niccolo Machiavelli believed that people who cannot manage themselves become vulnerable during difficult moments. And you can see that clearly in everyday life. When pressure appears, some people instantly panic. Some lose control emotionally. Some become angry at everyone around them. Meanwhile, others stay composed. Not because their life is perfect, not because they have no problems. They simply learned not to let every storm enter their inner world. That skill changes everything. Because when your mind stays calm, your decisions improve, your emotions become clearer. You stop making situations worse through emotional reactions, and most importantly, you stop carrying unnecessary weight. Peace is not about escaping life. It's about learning how to move through difficult moments without allowing them to poison your mind. Chaos becomes dangerous when you invite it into your thoughts and allow it to live there. The people who protect their peace understand something simple. A difficult moment should stay a moment, not become your entire state of mind. One of the most important skills a person can learn is how to step back mentally before emotions take control. Most people never do that. Something happens and they react immediately. They speak too fast. They assume the worst. They let anger, fear, or frustration take over the situation. Then later, when their emotions calm down, they regret how they handled it. Psychological detachment changes that. And no, it does not mean becoming distant from life or pretending not to care. It means creating space between what happens around you and how you respond to it. That small space matters more than people realize, because when emotions rise quickly, clear thinking usually disappears. Imagine someone says something disrespectful to you during a tense moment. Most people instantly feel pressure in their chest. Their tone changes. Their mind prepares for conflict before they even think clearly. But a detached mind works differently. Instead of reacting automatically, it pauses first. It observes the situation almost from the outside. What is actually happening here? Is this worth my energy? Will reacting emotionally improve anything? That pause protects your peace. Niccolo Machiavelli understood that emotional reactions often weaken a person's position. When emotions fully control you, other people can predict your behavior easily. They know what angers you. They know how to provoke you. They know how to disturb your state of mind. But when you stay calm and observant, people lose that control over you. That is why detachment is powerful, not because it makes you cold, because it gives you clarity. A detached person sees situations more accurately. They notice tone, behavior, patterns and intentions without immediately drowning in emotion. And this skill becomes extremely valuable during stressful moments inside everyday life. For example, imagine tension starts building during a conversation at home. Voices become sharper. Someone says something unfair. The emotional atmosphere gets heavier. Most people immediately jump into the emotional current. They defend themselves aggressively. They interrupt. They try to win the moment. But psychological detachment allows you to stay grounded. Instead of feeding the tension, you slow yourself down internally. One simple method helps a lot here. First, notice the emotional trigger immediately. Feel the anger rising. Feel the frustration building. Second, slow your breathing. Third, ask yourself one question. What actually matters here? That question alone can stop many unnecessary emotional reactions, because often people are not protecting their peace. They are protecting their pride. And those are two completely different things. A peaceful person does not need to react to everything. They choose carefully where their energy goes. That takes discipline, especially when emotions feel strong in the moment. But over time, detachment becomes easier. You stop absorbing every negative mood around you. You stop carrying conversations in your head for hours. You stop allowing temporary tension to control your entire day. And something surprising happens after that. Your mind becomes quieter, not because life suddenly becomes easy, because you finally stop giving every situation unlimited emotional access to you. That is real emotional control, not suppressing feelings, not pretending nothing affects you. Simply learning how to stay steady while emotions pass through instead of taking over your mind completely. Strategy 1. Master strategic calm. Calmness is often misunderstood. People think calm means weak, passive, soft. But in reality, calmness can be a form of control. Think about the people who lose themselves during stressful moments. The moment pressure appears, their emotions explode everywhere. Their voice gets louder. Their thoughts become messy. They say things they don't mean. Later, they sit alone replaying everything with regret. Now compare that to someone who stays steady, not silent out of fear, not emotionless, just controlled. That kind of calm changes the entire situation, because when your mind stays clear, you notice things other people miss. You hear what is actually being said instead of reacting emotionally to tone alone. You recognize when someone is acting out of frustration instead of truth. You avoid turning temporary tension into permanent damage. That is strategic calm. And honestly, very few people practice it anymore. Most people react first and think later. But calmness gives you time, and time gives you better judgment. Niccolo Machiavelli understood that emotional control creates advantage during difficult situations. A person who stays composed while others lose balance naturally gains influence in the moment. Why? Because emotional reactions spread quickly. One angry voice creates another angry voice. One tense attitude changes the atmosphere of an entire room. But calmness can spread too. A steady person often slows chaos down without even trying. And the first place to build that calmness is during ordinary moments, not only during problems. That's important. If your mind lives in constant stress all day, you cannot suddenly become calm during pressure. You have to train your nervous system to slow down regularly. One simple habit helps a lot with this. Start your mornings quietly for a few minutes. Just sit with your thoughts before the day fully begins. Even 5 minutes matters. Pay attention to your breathing. Let your mind wake up slowly instead of immediately throwing it into tension. People underestimate how much their mornings affect their emotional state later. When the day starts with mental pressure, the mind stays irritated more easily. Another useful habit is creating a pause before responding during frustrating moments. That pause is powerful. Sometimes a few seconds prevent unnecessary conflict completely. Imagine someone says something irritating. Most people answer immediately because their emotions demand instant release. But strategic calm asks something different. Do I need to react right now? Many times the answer is no. Not every moment deserves your immediate emotional response. Sometimes silence protects you better than words. Sometimes waiting allows emotions to cool naturally. And another important part of calmness is learning how to reset your mind at the end of the day. Many people carry the emotional weight of the entire day into the night. Arguments, stress, frustration. Their body goes home, but mentally they are still trapped inside old moments. That slowly destroys peace. Instead, give yourself time to mentally release the day. Take a walk. Sit quietly. Breathe slowly for a few minutes. Let your thoughts settle instead of feeding them constantly. A calm mind is not built through one perfect day. It is built through small, repeated habits. And over time, something changes inside you. You stop reacting instantly. You stop feeding emotional chaos automatically. Pressure still appears, but it no longer controls your behavior the same way. That is real strength. Because anybody can stay peaceful when life feels easy. Strategic calm matters most when emotions are trying to pull you away from yourself. Strategy 2. Claim mental dominance. Most battles in life are won or lost inside the mind first. Before someone gives up physically, they usually give up mentally. Before people lose control outwardly, they lose control inwardly. That's why protecting your mind matters so much. Because if your thoughts become weak, confused, or scattered, everything around you starts affecting you more deeply. Small problems feel heavier. Simple situations feel overwhelming. Your emotions become harder to manage, and many people live like this every day without realizing it. Their mind is constantly crowded. Too many worries, too many fears about the future, too much attention placed on things outside their control. They wake up thinking about pressure. They sleep thinking about pressure. Even during peaceful moments, their thoughts keep pulling them back into stress. This is where mental dominance becomes important. Mental dominance means your mind leads your life instead of your emotions leading it. It means you decide where your focus goes, not fear, not frustration, not temporary situations. Niccolo Machiavelli believed that preparation creates advantage long before difficult moments arrive. And mentally strong people live that way. They train their thinking before pressure appears. Because once emotions take over completely, clear judgment becomes harder. One of the biggest habits that destroys mental strength is constant mental clutter. Too many unfinished thoughts stay inside the head all day. Things people should have let go of hours ago are still taking space in their mind at night. That drains energy quietly. A useful habit for this is something simple: mental clearing. At least once a day, sit quietly for a few minutes and examine what has been sitting in your mind. Ask yourself, what is actually important right now? That question matters because many people waste emotional energy on things that change nothing. Old arguments, imagined situations, other people's opinions, fear about things that have not even happened. Meanwhile, the mind becomes exhausted carrying all of it. Strong thinkers simplify their focus. They separate what matters from what doesn't. And one question helps with that more than almost anything else. What can I actually control? Not tomorrow, not other people, not every outcome, just your actions, your mindset, your response. That shift changes the way pressure feels, because people suffer more when they try to mentally control everything around them. Life does not work that way. Sometimes plans fail. Sometimes people disappoint you. Sometimes difficult seasons arrive without warning. Mental dominance is not pretending those things don't exist. It's refusing to let them completely take over your inner state. Another powerful habit is building focus intentionally. Most minds today jump from one thought to another constantly. That weakens concentration over time. So train your attention in small ways. Read something slowly without rushing. Sit quietly without needing constant distraction. Finish one task fully before moving to another. Simple things like that strengthen mental discipline more than people realize. And here's something important. A mentally strong person is not somebody who never struggles internally. Everyone struggles sometimes. Mental dominance means you do not stay trapped there. You guide your thoughts back instead of allowing them to spiral endlessly. That takes practice. Some days will feel easier than others, but over time your mind becomes steadier, more focused, less reactive, harder to shake emotionally. And once that happens, life changes in a quiet but powerful way. Outside, pressure stops controlling your inner world so easily, because your mind finally belongs to you again. Strategy 3. Control your emotions. Most people don't realize this, but emotions are not the enemy. They're signals. They tell you when something feels wrong, when something matters, when something needs attention. But the problem starts when emotions take the driver's seat. When that happens, logic disappears. Patience disappears. Perspective disappears. And all that remains is reaction. A sharp word can ruin the entire mood of the day. A misunderstanding can turn into a long mental struggle. A small frustration can grow into something much bigger inside the mind than it ever needed to be. And after a while, people start feeling like they are controlled by their own emotions. Anger comes too fast. Stress stays too long. Sadness feels heavier than it should. But emotional control is not about shutting feelings down. It's about guiding them instead of being guided by them. There is a big difference. Shutting emotions down creates pressure inside. Guiding them creates clarity. Think of emotions like energy. Energy can be useful when directed properly, but when it's uncontrolled, it becomes destructive. Niccolo Machiavelli understood that a person who cannot manage internal reactions becomes unstable under pressure, and instability leads to poor decisions. That's why emotional control is not about being strong in a loud way. It's about staying steady when inner reactions try to pull you off balance. One practical way to start building this skill is learning to name what you feel in the moment. Not ignore it, not fight it, just recognize it. For example, instead of getting lost in anger, you pause and notice, I feel irritated right now. That small awareness already creates distance between you and the emotion, because now you are observing it instead of becoming it. Another important step is understanding where the emotion should actually go. Not every feeling needs to be expressed immediately. Some need reflection, some need silence, some need time before responding. People often make things worse because they release emotions at the wrong moment. A frustrated reaction can damage a situation that might have been resolved calmly just a few minutes later. So timing matters. Control is not only about what you feel, it's also about when and how you respond to it. Another part of emotional control is learning what to release. Many people carry emotions longer than necessary. They replay conversations in their head. They hold on to irritation. They mentally revisit moments that already ended. That keeps emotional weight alive far longer than it should exist. Letting go is not forgetting. It's deciding not to keep feeding the feeling. And the more you practice that, the lighter your mind becomes over time. You also start noticing something important. Not every emotional trigger deserves equal attention. Some things matter deeply. Others are just temporary reactions that fade quickly if you don't keep thinking about them. Emotional control helps you separate those two. And that separation is where peace begins to grow again. Because when every feeling doesn't automatically take over your actions, you regain space inside your mind. Space to think clearly. Space to respond wisely. Space to stay grounded even when situations feel uncomfortable. At first, this is not easy. Emotions can feel strong and immediate. But over time, you start building a gap between feeling and reaction. And that gap changes everything. You stop acting from impulse. You stop getting pulled into unnecessary conflict. You stop carrying emotional weight longer than needed. And slowly, you become someone who feels deeply, but stays in control. Strategy 4. Handle division smartly. There are moments in life where tension appears between people, a misunderstanding, a different opinion, a situation where emotions start rising on both sides without anyone fully realizing it. And in those moments, most people make the same mistake. They jump in immediately. They try to prove a point. They try to fix everything with words. But instead of calming things down, they often make it worse. Because when emotions are already high, logic doesn't land easily. People hear tone more than meaning. They react to feeling more than facts. And the situation becomes heavier than it needed to be. This is where smart handling becomes important. Not taking sides too quickly. Not rushing into emotional reactions. Not adding more pressure to an already tense moment. Instead, staying steady. Observing first, understanding what is actually going on, letting emotions settle before responding. That kind of patience protects your peace more than most people realize. Niccolo Machiavelli often highlighted the value of staying composed in divided situations, where quick emotional involvement can weaken judgment. And in real life, you can see why. When people get pulled into conflict too fast, they stop thinking clearly. They start reacting from frustration instead of understanding. They say things they don't fully mean. They become part of the tension instead of reducing it. But someone who stays grounded plays a different role. They listen more than they speak. They slow the pace of the moment instead of speeding it up. They avoid feeding emotional fire with more emotional fire. That doesn't mean ignoring problems. It means handling them with control instead of pressure. One of the strongest habits in these situations is listening fully before responding. Not interrupting, not assuming, just hearing the full picture first. Because many misunderstandings grow simply because people react before they understand. Another important approach is finding common ground quickly. Even in disagreement, there is usually something both sides can agree on. Maybe the intention behind the words, maybe the need for respect, maybe the desire for things to improve. Finding that small shared point helps reduce emotional tension. It reminds everyone involved that the situation is not purely against each other. It shifts focus from conflict to understanding. And sometimes the best decision is stepping away early. Not every situation needs full participation. If emotions keep rising and nothing productive is happening, distance can be more powerful than engagement. Walking away temporarily does not mean losing control. It means preventing further damage. It gives space for clarity to return on both sides. And clarity is what usually fixes things later. Another useful habit is learning how to respond without escalation. Instead of matching intensity, you lower it. Instead of reacting sharply, you speak calmly. Instead of adding fuel, you reduce pressure in the moment. This requires discipline, because emotionally charged situations naturally push people toward reaction. But if you can stay steady in those moments, you gain something important: control over your presence. People start to notice that you don't get pulled into chaos easily. You don't amplify tension. You don't react without thinking. You don't lose balance when situations get uncomfortable. And that changes how situations unfold around you. Because calm energy influences direction, not through force, but through stability. Over time, this skill protects your inner peace in a powerful way. You stop getting emotionally dragged into every disagreement. You stop carrying unnecessary conflict inside your mind. You learn when to engage and when to step back. And that is what handling division wisely really looks like. Not winning every moment, but protecting your mind while navigating difficult ones. Strategy 5. Use chaos as fuel. Most people fear difficult moments. They see pressure and immediately think something is going wrong. But there is another way to look at it. Difficult moments don't just break people, they also reveal opportunity. It depends on how you respond inside your mind. When life feels unstable, most people slow down emotionally. They hesitate, they overthink, they lose direction. But some people move differently in those same moments. They become more alert, more focused, more intentional with every decision, not because the situation is easy, but because they learned how to use pressure instead of collapsing under it. This is where chaos becomes useful, not as something to avoid, but as something to observe carefully. Every unstable moment contains information, a shift in environment, a change in behavior around you, a weakness in timing, a gap that others don't notice because they are too emotional. And while most people are reacting emotionally, the calm mind starts seeing patterns. That's where advantage begins. Niccolo Machiavelli understood that uncertainty is not only danger, it is also movement. And movement creates openings for those who stay aware. Think about it. When everything is smooth, people don't think deeply. They stay comfortable. They repeat habits without questioning much. But when pressure appears, thinking sharpens. Suddenly, people notice what they ignored before. They see what truly matters. They understand what was always unstable underneath the surface. That's why chaos, when handled correctly, becomes a teacher. It shows you where you are unprepared. It shows you where you are too reactive. It shows you where you need stronger control, but only if you stay mentally steady long enough to see it. If emotions take over, everything becomes noise. So the key is not to escape chaos. The key is to stay aware inside it. One practical approach is simple observation. Instead of reacting immediately, pause and scan the situation. What is actually changing right now? What is being revealed here? What do most people miss in this moment? Those questions shift your mind from reaction to awareness. And awareness is where better decisions come from. Another important shift is learning to slow your internal urgency. When pressure appears, the mind often wants to rush. Fix it now. Respond now. Decide now. But rushing usually leads to mistakes. Steady minds don't rush. They assess first. They move when clarity appears. They avoid unnecessary emotional speed. This creates control even in unstable conditions. And here's something most people never realize. Chaos often exposes emotional habits. It shows who reacts instantly without thinking. It shows who gets overwhelmed easily. It shows who cannot separate feeling from action. But it also shows who stays composed. And that difference matters more than people think. Another useful mindset is this. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this moment?" That small shift changes your internal state. You stop seeing everything as personal disruption. You start seeing it as information. And information gives you direction. Over time, something powerful develops. You stop fearing unstable moments. You stop feeling mentally shaken by sudden changes. You start trusting your ability to stay steady inside uncertainty. And that is the real strength of using chaos as fuel, not controlling everything around you, but controlling yourself so well that even unstable situations become something you can move through with clarity, awareness, and quiet confidence. If you made it this far, take a moment and really think about what this all means. Life is never going to slow down for you. It's never going to become perfectly quiet. It's never going to remove pressure completely. It's never going to stop people from acting unpredictable or situations from shifting without warning. That's just how it is. But here's the part most people miss. You don't need a perfect world to feel steady inside. You just need a trained mind, a mind that doesn't get pulled in every direction, a mind that doesn't react to everything instantly, a mind that knows when to stay silent, when to observe, and when to move. That is what everything in this video was pointing toward, not control over others. Control over yourself. And once you start practicing that, even in small moments, something changes quietly. You stop carrying unnecessary emotional weight. You stop replaying every situation in your head. You stop letting temporary moments decide your entire mood. You start noticing space inside your own thoughts again, space to breathe, space to think, space to choose how you respond instead of just reacting automatically. And over time, that space becomes your strength. Because when your mind is not constantly overloaded, you see life differently. You don't rush into emotional decisions. You don't get trapped in every argument. You don't lose sleep over things that don't deserve that level of attention. You stay grounded even when situations feel uncomfortable. That doesn't mean life becomes easy. It means you become stable. And stability is rare. Most people are carried by their circumstances. But you start learning how to stand above them mentally. Not in an arrogant way, not in a cold way, just in a steady, controlled way that protects your inner world. And that is something nobody can take from you once you build it. Before you go, take this seriously. Don't just watch this and move on like it's entertainment. Try one thing from these strategies today. Just one. See how it feels when you respond differently instead of reacting the usual way. Small changes like that are where real transformation begins. If this message connected with you, take a second and support the channel. Like the video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And remember this before you leave: chaos will always exist, but your peace doesn't have to leave with it.